Through the portals.
Vietnam tapes.
Comet tales. Screeching frequencies of pulsing infinities. Awake in the hive. Where the sap is collected, the process perfected. The galactic siren sound! Down the dimensions, curled up strings inside the point. Get out of the path of the king! Mr. Laurel. Get out of the path of the king! Regret. Get out of the path of the king! They will not be able to attend tonight's dinner. Supernova outshot! Get out of the path of the king! Set it up, people, secure the galactic we can roll to the above.
Welcome back to For Comics Sake, your go-to for everything comics and beyond. I am your host, J.Crager, and it is November 18th, 2024. Once again, this is a Monday, it's 8 p.m., and today I want to talk about a duo that has shaped not just how we view the comic world, but how we see our heroes and villains in 3 dimensions. I'm talking about the Shiflett brothers. These 2 sculpting legends, Brandon and Jared Shiflett, have been turning heads for decades with their jaw-dropping creations. They've taken characters off the comic page and brought them to life with a level of detail and dynamicism that feels almost supernatural. Dynamism, that's the word. Their work spans the Marvel Universe, indie comics, and their original designs, all of which showcase their unique style, a mix of raw, gritty energy and incredible precision. But their influences don't stop at comics. They've inspired artists in gaming, collectibles, and fine art, pushing boundaries and redefining what it means to tell a story in sculpting. From classic Hulk busts to jaw-dropping indie characters, their work bridges the gap between fandom and fine art. What makes the Shiflett brothers stand out is their passion. They're fans first and artists second, and it shows in every piece they create. They're not just building statues, they're immortalizing the spirit of the medium with love. So whether you're a comic book purist, a collector, or an artist in need of a spark, the Shiflett brothers are proof that creativity knows no limits, and for that we say, for comics' sake, thank you. Right now I'm going to introduce my co-host William Perdomo, but after such a yeah, it's a good one. We need to get the boys in here.
Yeah, screw us.
Yeah,
let's get the boys in here.
Screw us. So I'd like to welcome Brandon Shiflett and Jared Shiflett.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Here we go.
Hey guys, thanks for that nice introduction. That was very kind and generous.
It really was too generous, but we appreciate you guys having us. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Coming on.
I don't think it's too generous at all. Did you just toss that out of frame? Like, fuck this thing. It's gone. That's perfect, man.
Marco says hello to everybody.
That's awesome. Marco is my art partner and editor, co-writer, and inker extraordinaire and colorist on Jawbone Death, co-writer on Hammer. So he's my buddy.
Hey, Marco.
Forever. Yeah, let's all give love to Marco and Moromi.
Nice. Yeah, Moromi, and don't forget Jason, who thought there would be Punch and Pie.
Yes, Jason with Punch and Pie and Omer Glitch.
Welcome, Omer Glitch.
Yeah, we'll get a few more people in here as we go. So starts out slow. I've been introducing music in the beginning of these little escapades, and I don't know whether people actually like it or not, but I do. And that band was actually kind of a movie band. The band, I don't know the name of the band. I know the name of the movie. It's the soundtrack for a movie called Frank, and that's Michael Fassbender who's singing.
Right.
Yeah. So
cool movie.
Yeah, it's very cool. And if I ever had a band, ever, like, it would be that. I would literally go wear that mask and walk around singing that.
Like actor Michael Fassbender? Yeah,
I'm talking about underneath that mask. I don't know if you noticed the video. There was a big head in it. The actor Michael Fassbender is the one who's singing that song.
We're both very big fans.
I'm a huge fan. I would be gay for Michael Fassbender.
He's a beautiful, beautiful man.
Yeah,
See? Jared knows. Jared gets it.
Calling it like I see it.
I know.
See? Android now.
He's so pretty. David from, Prometheus. Yeah. He was perfect as that. He's perfect. He's so handsome.
He is dreamy.
Yeah. In many ways. So it's really awesome. Anyways, it's good to see you guys, man. You're still in Texas.
Yes,
you're still. Yeah, you're still creating awesome sculptures. You have a Patreon.
Yes,
we do. Yes. That's the way of things for artists nowadays. You've got to have a Patreon for your hardcore people. You know what I mean? And you give that kind of, I don't know if it's specialized content, but it's just more of this, more stuff,
Right. Behind the scenes type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm going to drop that link in the chat, guys, if you want to go check out their Patreon.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man.
It is.
Yeah. And there's a Facebook page, the Schiffler Brothers sculpting page that you can put on, and you can interact with Jared and thousands of other sculptors from all around the world.
Yeah. We've got like 80,000, 84,000 people. You can't ever tell what Facebook is going to help you promote. You know what I mean? So we got lucky there, and we keep it friendly. You know what I mean? We love the newbies and the people just starting out, and we just try to be helpful.
It's pros and amateurs, and all talking shop, and sharing work and tips and tricks. And you getting critique from their work, and it's a cool vibe. It really is.
It is. It's an awesome place. So, and I would have to say it's a. I was telling Jared before that you guys have run the largest sculpting community for the last about 15 or 20 years. Okay, and it started with your forums that Simon Lee, I guess, ran some of the security on or something, or did the website.
So a brief history. Yeah, Norman the Kit Man Pyatt originally, and we were just talking about this, but Norman Pyatt, commonly known as the Kit Man, he asked us to moderate a group, the Clubhouse. I mean, this was like 20 years ago. And we didn't even know what it was. We were like, is that a chat room? What's a forum, And so then eventually, when we had our website, we created our own forum. And Simon Spider Zero Lee was a site guy. and he created the first Shiflett Brothers forum on that page. And so that's a brief history.
And it blew up from there. I remember at some point it pushed 50,000 followers, if I recall properly. It had a lot of traffic. And, you know, it was all by itself. I guess Facebook hadn't become the space yet that it was. And at some point, you guys kind of transferred over. And it really blew up from there too. Like immediately you went back to like 50 plus or 80,000 followers, and it really just grew. And Facebook having 1 billion followers kind of helped give a little bit of a new audience to you also.
For sure.
So that was amazing. Yeah, the Shiflett brothers are amazing. So I can go on forever about the work they've done. They worked that thing is awesome. It's a chupacabra that was bronzed that's in the middle of some desert somewhere, I thought. Like,
that's right.
As a joke.
On a ranch in West Texas. And it was we sculpted it for a guy who had a lot of money. And so it was the bronze itself was just a one of one. Like the molds were destroyed. He had one bronze. He had us sculpt it in our foundry, which is now called Pyrology Foundry. It used to be deep in the heart art foundry outside of Austin in Bastrop, Texas. And so this guy wanted a chupacabra bronze on his property. And he had one bronze made, and that was it. He didn't want another one made. He didn't want one made for anybody else. And that was the brief we got, and we designed it and we sculpted it. And, Pyrology, Clint Howard over there is the owner. He's into a lot of the same stuff we're into, even though mostly what they do is wildlife and such and monuments. And but he's still a fan, the owner of this bronze foundry, Clint. He's a fan of, and he's been to Comic-Con. I mean, a fan of the genre, and he's been to Comic-Con, so he gets where we're coming from. And we did this one-off chupacabra that now sits out on a private ranch in West Texas. Jared and I even went out there like to the ranch and oversaw where we wanted to put it on this huge parcel of land, you know, and it was a really cool experience. It's the biggest thing we've ever done physically. You know, I think the wingtip was like 5.5 feet tall, close to 6 feet tall, and of course our wheelhouse is more like 10 inches, or you know, somewhere between 9 and 12 inches is where we.
Somebody
like
wants to
work.
say hello.
We got a dog in the picture.
Which one's this, Jared?
This is Cha-Cha, the best dancer at St. Bernadette's.
Speaking of chupacabras.
Yeah,
nice.
With the worst reputation. That's a Reese quote. And I call her Triple Trouble because she's triple the amount of trouble of a normal dog.
Nice.
And she's a sweetie.
What up, Luke?
Nice.
There's your doppelganger now in the chat.
Brandon. Yeah, your doppelganger is here. That's awesome.
And then we have a new person in the chat, Entropy in Comics. Welcome. We haven't seen you before, so thanks for dropping by, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's good. So the Shiflett brothers have been around for a long time. I met them back in 1996 at a San Diego Comic-Con, and they had this incredible Draco dragon statue from Dragonheart, and it was just so freaking amazing. That's Tula and the Stray. That's oh god, I forgot its name. It's not Elroy.
McElroy.
It's Matt.
Professor McElroy. Sorry, I'm putting the link in the forum.
It's the Dragon Division, Jared, the egg retrieval.
Oh, yeah.
Egg retrieval unit. Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody's got an echo.
This is the poor bastard's day. He has to dress up in the suit and go and try to steal the eggs from the dragon's nest. And we imagine that it's like when you get tight on his face, you can kind of see there's an apprehension. Like this is probably a revolving door job. Like you don't last long trying to steal eggs from a dragon. But
Right.
yeah, I like that piece.
Am I the
Nice.
echo?
You're good now, I think.
Yeah, it seemed to have fixed itself.
They
I
said the
turned my
sculpture
volume
looks
down.
massive and heavy, exquisite work. Entropy says. Well, it's bronze, so
Yeah.
This is the character I did the piece of that we're going to be showing tonight.
When you
That's
guys
right.
cast that
That's
thing,
beautiful.
like, how'd you get it to his ranch? Did you like how'd you upload it?
Yeah, so the foundry did that for us. They carried it up there on a fucking giant truck, and they used a giant fucking crane. In fact, we have some video of it, where the crane just pulled it up, and we're standing there watching. Who knows what it weighed? Even though it's hollow on the inside, it's still heavy as a mother,
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Are you gonna play your video, Crager?
No, we're showing his stuff still. That's
go for
fine.
it.
You can do that. So
I'm just going through the gallery because everything's beautiful in this thing.
it is.
When you talk about the clubhouse and like the forum and the places we've hosted, what it's really about for us, I think, is sort of a transparency. We thought the people who said, I'm not going to tell you how I do it or whatever, we kind of thought that was a dick move. And it was kind of, for us, it seemed to be coming from a place of fear. Jared and I don't have fear like that, like we're not the best sculptors around, but but if you're a young kid and you want to do it, we want to see it. You know what I mean? It's like, show it to us. Here's how we do it. I can tell you how we do it. I mean, we've written a book, we hold panels at conventions, and I can tell you, like, it's kind of like, I can tell you how to lay the bricks, like technically, here's the tools I use, here's the clay I use. But there's still some spark in there, of an artist. That there's a part that I can't really teach that has to do with a sort of designer's eye, I think, and there's posing elements, and there's some of that stuff that's it's not really tangible. It's hard to get across verbally. And so Jared and I just always thought, hey man, here's how we do it. Good luck to you, and we want to see it. And when a kid comes along and he's got real skills and everything, Jared and I, instead of being I don't know, frightened by that, or we're going to lose our job. I mean, we're pumped up. We want to see kids who are good at this, and we started like that in the 90s, and now with these digital, sculpting programs and everything, God bless them. If a kid wants to do it in clay and wants to do it traditionally, we're even more stoked, that there are still young people getting their hands dirty and using clay in the traditional methods.
Exactly.
Well, Luke says, Brandon, those Grendel statues behind you look dope.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
go on.
It's some of the stuff they really worked on is quite extensive. So not only did they do the Grendel stuff, they have their own designs like Chloe, and they have oh god, I know the name. What's the name of the Noinub and the devil?
The deal with the devil, yeah.
The deal with the devil. So it's this giant minotaur that is standing in front of this man with a hammer and an anvil. And they're gonna have a deal. They're gonna have a talk.
That's right.
Maybe he needs some new shoes or something. I don't know.
That's it.
And he's there to hook him up. But
yeah, that started out. It was gonna be like a fight scene, and then it just got slower and slower until they were just kind of talking, and he's like, okay, I'm going to put this new shoe on you, and you know you need it, and I can do it, but let's be cool.
Yeah, don't take me away afterwards. Like, there's Noinub in the middle, like if you scroll down. Plus, Yeah, it's the giant Minotaur, man. It's the coolest thing, and the one that was in Amazing Modeler magazine. Keep scrolling down.
Yeah, that was on the cover of Amazing Figure Modeler, which was a very proud moment for us. That was like Amazing Figure Modeler back in the time of elves and all that, back in the time of print magazines way back then.
Obsolete.
That was the magazine for model kits and statues and stuff.
It was. And are they still around? Do we know?
They went online.
Only on digital form, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that, that the Schiffler brothers have done such cool stuff. They've worked with the Frazettas. They've worked with Alex Ross to do a Kingdom Come statue. They worked with Bowen Design to do several other statues. You've done Simon Beasley work, where you've done Venom and Spider-Man. You worked on video games back in the day, Abe's Odd World.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff's amazing, and I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing. Okay, absolutely stuff I'm missing.
And so I was just going to say, because the name of your show is For Comic's Sake, and it's really interesting because a lot of times I tell people, a lot of our peers who do what we do sort of start their main impetus is movies and special effects.
Mm-hmm.
For me and Jared, it was comic books, just flat out. That's the reason we started sculpting. We love movies just like the next guy, but it was about wanting to see our these comic book characters in 3D. That was the impetus, at the beginning. And as you say, we were just two kids from Beaumont, Texas, a relatively small town. Mm-hmm. And so when we started getting noticed in the 90s, me and Jared are reading books like Grendel and War Child, with Grendel Prime and Bowen, and we start working in the industry, and somebody like Randy Bowen is getting in touch with us and saying, hey, do you want to sculpt this Grendel War Child? And we're flipping out. It was a while back now, but we can remember it like it was yesterday, because we were reading Grendel just in our regular lives, and now he's going, do you want to sculpt this character? We're going, no way are they about to let us do this, And all the licensed jobs we ever did were kind of like that, like oh my God, they're going to let us sculpt Thanos, or whatever. It's like we were those comic book nerds, and we
love Matt Wagner, and part of the deal is when we were talking to Bowen, we were like, we want to talk to Matt Wagner on the phone. That's one of our conditions.
Like we want
so for like 5 minutes, he was like, okay, here he is, talk to him.
And we took a certain amount of money off. He would just get Wagner to call us. Like that's the kind of nerds we were, and still are, really.
That's rad. Yeah.
I do have a question about the Chupacabra. From the moment you got the phone call to putting that in the guy's property, how long was that time period to go from phone call to delivery?
Oh, God, a long time. We worked on it for a long time.
I might say like 18 months.
18 months.
I honestly have no idea. It was a clay that we had never worked in before, J.Mac Classic clay. So our process is we bake things like polymer clay or either Aves, and at some point it gets very hard and dense, and so then we can carve it and Dremel it and keep working on it. But the J.Mac Classic clay, it doesn't. It's like not wax, but it never gets hard. So it was a learning experience for us, for sure.
And also, we had to sculpt that in quarter scale first.
Okay.
So we sculpted like a little 1 foot thing of it. And then the foundry kind of made, they sized it up in styrofoam. But it was just kind of a vague recreation about the size. So then we had to sculpt it again at this larger size.
Okay.
First, we did like a maquette, like a study of what it would look like. and it looks pretty much like it turned out. It's very
and so the
simple.
client could see that too and go, okay, yeah, that.
Exactly.
Luke wants to ask, he said, F yeah, I love Grendel. Have you guys read the new series, Grendel Prime, on post-apocalyptic Earth?
I have, and I love it. I love all of it. Like I said, I'm a huge Matt Wagner fan. I love Grendel. I love Mage. Mage was a big deal to us when we were, teenagers. And Matt Wagner did this Trinity with Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And he's also just a great writer, comic book writer. But he love his stuff, and I'm still reading everything he does.
Surprised there isn't a Mage movie or a Mage
they should go
series
for that.
or something.
It's funny you guys are like when you guys are talking about Bowen. I remember when Bowen was the only kind of game in town in terms of mass producing statues, and it was in the back. Remember it was in the back of like Comic Book News where you had to order it, and
that's right.
That was the only place to get these effigies other than Toy Biz, right? Of your favorite characters. And then I don't know if you guys would agree, but it seems that this crossed over into artistic effigies with McFarlane Toys and Mezco. It seems like they both kind of happened at the same time. Mezco and McFarlane doing statues essentially as action figures.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, would you guys agree?
Totally. And you sort of had, you're right. And it was sort of like borderline statues, but articulated, so you could move them around.
Or static. Sometimes McFarlane did them static, but they're still like, what were they? Plastic? I don't know what they were made of.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Who's got the drill rattling? Sorry, I had my air on. I turned it off. So.
Because remember, Todd kind of started out making kids' toys. They had like action arms and stuff, and then he slowly transitioned into something you just put on a shelf or in a glass case, and he started aiming at big kids.
Absolutely. And we know a lot of those sculptors. We never did any work for McFarlane Toys. But we did.
They wouldn't give us name credit. They contacted us.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out. We were like, name credit is the first thing, but that's just what
Yeah, they didn't credit a lot of those artists. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know. That's how Todd ran things.
And we thought it was bizarre because of how Image was formed,
Yeah.
It was kind of like power to the artist, right? Marvel and DC are making all this money off of us. But then when it came to sculptors, Todd wasn't so much about that. It didn't seem to me. Now, I don't know him personally, but I just like naming I want everyone to be named. Every artist who worked on something, I want them to be named. That's my preference.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that carries over into the statue collecting culture, is that they do follow artists from company to company, whether it's Pop Culture Shock or Sideshow. They'll say this premium format was done by X, and people will look for that.
That's right.
Yeah, Paul Komoda doing Swamp Thing, Mark Newman doing the Court of the Dead stuff.
Yeah, those are beautiful. Do you guys do any of that? Any of the Court of the Dead?
But we love the Court of the Dead. That's some of the best stuff.
Did you guys had I see on your website you had a little Sideshow video there. What were you guys doing for Sideshow?
Yeah. I think we may be the only artists who have a video who've never done anything for Sideshow.
What? Then why are you on it?
There is a story. They told us we were going to do like a line of bronzes, fucking Darth Vader, Superman, Batman, the Hulk, all this shit, and then it just went away. So God bless them. Sideshow's the best. That Court of the Dead stuff. They did a video on us, and so they're great. And hopefully one day we do something with them. a lot of their Amilcar. I don't know if Amilcar is still with them, but
no, but he
they
designed
have some
some of that
super
Court of the Dead
talented
stuff. Yeah.
people. I mean, the cream rises, and a lot of the best people end up at Sideshow. And you can see it, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the
true.
Dead
I'm a
stuff
car.
was great. Remember when the Dead? It started out as the Dead, where they had that beautiful SS zombie. Remember the Frozen Dead one, where he's kind of
Right.
walking with his guts hanging out, and they were just introducing the mixed media format for their premium formats.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Mask of the Red Death, I thought, was the
That
first
one.
one.
That one. No. It was the very first one. Was the Mermaid?
Oh, okay.
Which
Well,
is
these
really
are the
cool.
you know
Siren.
these are the sort of pet project and the dream of Tom Gilliland,
Right.
who's the creative director there. And I think he's the mastermind of all of these. There are different designers involved, of course, and different sculptors and different painters. But I think Tom Gilliland is overseeing all that Court of the Dead stuff, and it's just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff.
No, the first one was Death, that big, beautiful, legendary scale one he did. Remember, Death?
Okay. No,
Do you guys
I
remember
don't
that statue?
remember.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
Death himself, and he had a scythe and a sword.
for sure, yeah.
It was gorgeous. It was like huge too, and it was like $2,000. It was a massive statue.
Yeah, they've got the quarter scale stuff is huge and expensive. I mean, wow.
I had a lot of it, and then I sold it all to go to university.
I feel
before
you.
the bubble burst. So it was like the period when it was worth a lot of money. Remember when you would go on eBay and Sideshow stuff was just astronomically expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
And I made a killing and went to the university with it. But now it seems to have cooled off, and the bubble seems to have burst a little bit.
I think it has. Yeah.
I see that.
Well, you know, it's hard now. Like it's like you said earlier. When Bowen was the only, like he had the only Marvel license, you know. So if there was a Wolverine, if there was a Wolverine statue, it was Bowen, you know. And so now it's like 40, 50, you know. How many companies have that license and are making statues? That's a lot of fucking Wolverines, you know, when you're picking between 50 different ones. At some point, obviously, you're going to have oversaturation.
Even Sideshow, I think, puts out a couple Wolvos a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I want to break in real quick to point out that I am using a brush this entire time to ink.
This is looking awesome, man. I'm watching it, and it's just beautiful, Jason.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's man.
Kind of
like
reminded me of your meathead inking. You know, the kind of very flat surfaces that look like they're getting a high contrast.
Yeah, that's what I shot for. Trying to kind of give it a little more of that high contrast so that the color did some of that heavy lifting along the way.
Says that looks dope, JC.
It looks kick-ass, and Jared and I hate you because you can do both 2D and 3D.
Draw.
You can draw. You guys, whenever you send
Not
me
really.
something, send me a little picture of a skull all the time.
Yeah. That's how
they're
much
the
we
best.
can draw. Exactly.
Those don't count.
Exactly how much we can draw.
Those count. Those totally count. I know you guys can draw, so
we can't. We can't.
You can do everything. I know it. I used brush, I think, entirely for most of this. There might be some like pen involved later on the axe, just because I'm old and my hand wasn't working right, and maybe I think I was moving some stuff this week while I shot this, so my hands were kind of beat up from the day before. And I'm old. So yeah, I ended up switching over to pen at some point just to kind of hit a few things. But yeah, I think I did okay.
You did great, and the finished
product. We'll see how it develops.
Yeah, you guys have seen the end. Nobody else has. They've only seen the gray tones of it. So you have to be watching the show or watch the show later to see the finished piece, or at some point I'll post it on Facebook and be like, hey, if you want to watch the process of this or X, you know, you can go check out the show.
Jared, I want to actually make a statement and see what you guys think. Is probably people will disagree with me, but I think in terms of special effects, in terms of film, models still look better than modern CGI. Because an object in actual space that is taking light shined on it, you can't replicate what the happy accidents of natural light on an object are.
100%. We agree.
All the best monsters are practical. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back,
it looks like it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get or even the new Alien, where they were using mostly practical effects.
Alien.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Romulus.
Big ones.
I think Jared and I talk about this a lot. Like our brain, there's something that says, okay, that's kind of it says that's animation. With some of this CGI, like that can't really hurt me. You know what I mean? And it's obvious. This is why Christopher Nolan hung a fucking flying bat car in the streets of Pittsburgh and had it go by on cranes, because he was like, if you guys can do this in CG to the extent where I believe it, let's do it. If not, I'm going to fucking hang a bat plane by a crane, because it's just what you said. Real lighting hitting a real object in space, your brain knows when it sees that, and when especially when it comes to creature effects. I mean, in creature stuff. And let me tell you, I mean, some of these digital guys in these movies are fucking badass mothers, and the designs of some of these creatures are incredible. I just submit that a real object in space in front of a human is a scarier thing, and our brains somehow pick up on what's real and what isn't.
And
for sure.
Agreed. We'll look at John Carpenter's The Thing. That movie still holds up because they use practical effects. And I know you guys are probably Rob Bottin fans because he was a freaking genius.
That's my favorite movie.
We are, for sure.
I love The Thing, man.
I mean, Rob Bottin, I think, was 19 when he did The Howling, his first film.
It's amazing.
Right.
And he was 21 when he did The Thing.
Yeah, and we have some friends who worked on like The Thing, back in the day. And we've met some amazing fucking sculptors and artists from that walk of life. Jared and I never, we never wanted to be movie sculptors, but because of the luck of our careers going the way it has, we've met a lot of those guys, and it's fucking inspiring,
And you guys are
went to Henry Alvarez's studio, and he had the one of the mutated dog things. It was huge, and it was all old and beat up, but we were still just like, what the fuck?
There it is.
The monster thing it was crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, it's a deconstructionist monster, right? It is an amorphous creature without a form. I mean, talk about a challenge, right?
Right.
In the late 80s.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, and Rob Bottin, the man is responsible for sculpting not only The Thing, the howling effects, but creating darkness and legend, as well as RoboCop. Right. He designed that damn suit, one of the most beautiful science fiction designs, I think, arguably of all time.
Right.
Is the RoboCop suit.
It's slick, man, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Billy wants to be contrarian. He says that bat plane is CG. The full-scale model was just used for reference, not to be contrarian.
That's bullshit. No, it wasn't just used for reference.
You tell him.
No, you're telling me they flew it through the streets of Pittsburgh for reference? No. I disagree.
Yep, there you go. So, Del Toro, big fan of it. No Prem says Del Toro's Hellboy is a great example of practical effects over CGI. And welcome, No Ram. Welcome, buddy.
I like him, Crimson Peak. In Crimson Peak, he's using practical and he adds some digital to the ghosts. I think that's cooler.
It works really well.
Accentuate, right? To put some spice on it, not to be the thing.
Right. Exactly right.
I'll give you another example. Now that we're talking about aliens, I think when you're watching CGI, the artists tend to try to make their stuff the star. And I think there's like a subconscious thing with the producers that if we're paying this much for CGI, we want it to be center stage. But when you watch something like Aliens, where James Cameron is like, it's not about what the thing looks like, and he kind of deconstructed the design, say, I want it to be a silhouette and have a movement, but not details, right? And you see these things bouncing around from wall to wall and moving,
Right.
and it's scarier because they have an insect-like alien movement, but it's actually there. You know?
That's true. That's true. And I've always particularly liked, like, even if they don't use a full-size xenomorph, if they use a puppet of a xenomorph, I'll appreciate that puppet more than I would if it were completely CGI.
Totally.
Billy begs to differ. He says, I saw an interview from the head of visual effects. I'm not bullshitting.
Okay, well, we'll be looking for that. We'll be looking for that, Billy.
Death Metal Hero, Ed 209, RoboCop terrified me as a kid. Great design. I mean, yeah. I mean, when he does that crazy shit in the beginning, he's roaring at Kenny before he busts a million caps in his ass. I mean, that's some scary shit.
That was awesome. So the Judge Dredd robot was peak. He's talking about the ABC Warrior.
Yeah, in the Danny Cannon one.
Yeah, the one with Stallone. I am the law. I'm law. So,
I'll say that one I thought was pretty cool in terms of its design with the big chunky guns and armor. The Lawgiver was much cooler in that one than in the Carl Urban
one. Yeah, but Carl Urban didn't take his mask off, and that's all all care about. So.
I didn't say he was a better Judge Dredd. I just like the Lawgiver weapon in the original Dredd.
If Stallone had never removed his helmet, we would have considered that the end-all to be-all of all Judge Dredd movies.
Yeah.
Had he never removed his helmet, he could have said whatever the fuck he wanted. He could have been stupid. He could have barely killed anybody. And we still would be like, okay, this is Judge Dredd. But no, Carl
to
Urban,
Danny Cannon's credit, he wanted that, but obviously that's his first movie. And he's Stallone at the height of his powers. It's not happening.
Yeah, we love Stallone though. So,
but Rob Schneider doesn't ruin it for you. Come on, guys.
I like him in that film, especially when they get caught by the hillbillies out in the wasteland. He's like, "Go tell him on the mountain."
Give me Carl Urban any day.
You can do it.
You can do it.
There was a lot of silly stuff in Judge Dredd. I mean, remember Judge Fish?
I mean, the comics?
Yeah, in the comics.
Yeah. The whole Caligula thing. The weird Judge Caligula. Remember him?
Yeah. So it makes sense that there would be some Rob Schneider-y stuff in it, I guess.
I guess.
There's stupid people in movies too.
but guys, remember, this was like the height of the 90s formula of action where you had to have the goofy sidekick and the comic relief.
You're right. There had to be somebody that... It does, and that's what makes 80s action so great. I also, what one of my favorite movies is? It's that stupid Bruce Willis quarterback movie, the Last Boy Scout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one.
I love that movie. I love that movie.
I don't know. Maybe it's Halle Berry half naked. Maybe it's. I don't know. But I
Wasn't that the most ever paid for a screenplay or something like that at the time?
Yeah, it was it was Shane Black. It was it was huge. Yeah. That and I think Basic Instinct at the time were the two big giant purchases.
Yeah.
So guys, question for you guys.
Yeah, do that.
What was the movie you saw that got you that you consider the reference for your business, if you were as model makers?
It sounds cliche, but the monsters on the chessboard in Star Wars was a huge thing for me personally. I was like, stop the fucking movie. What are those little monsters on the chessboard?
Yeah.
And one of them raises the other one up. I love that. And I loved the Rancor,
So Phil Tippett.
Yeah.
But big time.
Right.
A lot of Phil Tippett. Yeah.
So Starship
Nice.
Troopers, all that stuff.
Although Jared didn't list this, I think a big movie for Jared was Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, is that you guys had to be massively inspired by Conan.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
before
massive.
As a total film, or is there
And
something
Crow.
in particular in there?
I think the feeling of it overall, the giant snake is cool. The guy with the big hammer, what's that guy's name? He was in he's been in like 16 Schwarzenegger films.
Yeah, he's like his stunt double homeboy. He's like a fellow bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
He's in the
thought
Quick
you
and the
guys were-
Dead.
That's awesome.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was awesome.
Yeah.
Where?
That was the
No,
second one.
Wilt,
That was
Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah,
Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Sorry. Wrong guy.
Death Metal Hero says Clash of the Titans OG, and I thought you guys were going to say Clash of the Titans, honestly.
Clash of the Titans was awesome.
And everything Harryhausen did, changed me and Jared. And, all of it. Jason and the Argonauts, Sinbad, all of that shit shaped us when we were kids. It was
Land of the Lost.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not Land of the Lost. That was not.
The Slee Stacks, man, they were cool for their time.
They're awesome, the Slee Stacks, man. Come on. Give me a break. We love Slee Stacks, man.
It was a routine expedition.
That's right. That's right. And they're a little bit of country too, so that they even switched wills halfway in the middle of it from dad to uncle.
Did they? I didn't realize that.
You didn't realize that dad became uncle? Yeah.
Sounds weird. That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's how it is in that family.
Yeah, it went weird, man. So I remember some of it. You guys are just a little bit older than me. Jared by a year and Brandon by a few years.
Yeah,
I think
about 10
5.
years. Yeah.
How old are you? When were you born, Brandon?
I was born in 68.
68. So I was 73. So 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's about 5 years older than me. So his memory of things is a little longer than mine. But yeah, you can see all the influences in their work. Anything barbarian-esque, anything that has to do with like clunky medieval or fantasy driven things, they just excel at that type of form. And even some of the shapes on some of your lizards, like Tula and the Stray, those wings are entirely unique to, even though they're exactly what a wing is, it's a hand, right? You guys still find a way to make them unique completely to like your aesthetic. And
Thanks,
that's what's so brilliant about you guys. Like, you just sing as far as your style goes.
Thanks,
and
Jason.
I've always enjoyed it. So super
I
good.
appreciate that. That's what me and Jared like in other sculptors, is when you can see a piece and you're like, that's Simon Lee. I just know by looking at it. And
Right.
I think you may get more of that now in ZBrush and stuff. I know in the beginning of sort of ZBrush and stuff, it all felt pretty homogenous. Like all of a sudden I couldn't tell who was doing it. Whereas with clay, I would say that's Paul Komodo, that's Mark Newman, that's Simon Lee, And but regardless of the medium, Jared and I always like that. Oh, I can tell who sculpted that. That's a thing for us. And it's cool that we have that a little bit. Sometimes on YouTube, I'll see like somebody's doing a demo and it's like, here's the shiflet wing, or here's a shiflet arm, and they're doing anatomy demo. And I always think that's pretty cool, that there is something that's sticking with people that is like a common thread through our work, maybe.
Oh yeah, your aesthetic style is very unique, and even as I got into sculpting, one of the things that I ran the paces through was like making barbarian people, people that had very pronounced muscles and stuff like that. And you just can't look at Simon Beasley. You can, because he's exaggerating forms and stuff, and some of his forms aren't real. But he treats them as real. He
Right.
colors them and shades them as real, even though they're not.
Right, for sure.
That's what happens when you take a cartoon, essentially, and shade it as real as humanly possible. It becomes Simon Beasley.
Right.
So, even though his anatomy isn't real, you can do those interpretations of those things, and it kind of works out, but it doesn't work out as well as if you grab a bunch of like bodybuilding photo ref and you just sit down and really do the work the way it's supposed to look.
Right.
And I think the best bit of advice I got from Jared one time when I was working, I was doing a piece for Tim Vigil. I was doing a Cuda, so his version of a barbarian, his version of Conan. And I remember showing it to Jared, and he was like, wow, that kind of looks like we did it. And he goes, but we would pop the muscles, like all the high points, you need to like pop all that stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. So I popped all that stuff, and when it was done, even to this day, it's like one of the best sculptures I ever did. And I probably had only been sculpting for about 2 years. And it was because I stuck to the reference, and I did what I was told. And
reference and repetition. We tell all the newbies. We get a lot of PMs are like, what do I do? How do I do it? And one thing I tell everybody is reference and repetition. Don't try, if you're going to sculpt a lion, don't try to wing it. Don't try to make it up. Go to Google Images and pull up some great pictures of lions, and that's going to inform you. And then repetition. The fifth one's going to be better than the first one. The 10th one's going to be better than the fifth one. I mean, that's how you do it. You have to work at a craft to improve it.
So would you guys say that the ultimate newbie mistake is trying to wing it all the time?
Yeah,
that's one of them.
I think that is.
That's one of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be the others? What are the consistent mistakes whenever you are appraising people's work? Like, what's the one thing you're always repeating to different people?
Well, one thing is that the eyes are lower on the face. Like the eyes are about half. Now, I have a very big head, but the eyes are about halfway down the head. So the amateur might put them up higher. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the eyes are about halfway in the middle of the head. And then the bottom of the nose is, not to get into a bunch of structure, is about halfway below that. And then the bottom of the lip is about halfway. So there's a guide to the average face. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And every time you do it, you're building up this muscle memory of like, oh yeah, I remember where this goes. And another rule of thumb is like the eyes, are 3 eye widths of, there's 1 eye width in between the eyes. And that'll always kind of guide you. You've got, and then you bring from straight below the pupils, you come straight down, and that's the corners of the mouth. So all that probably sounds rambling, but there is these little average rules of thumb that can help structure a face, and it'll make it better a lot of times.
And I think one other thing is with a lot of young sculptors, even if their muscles and where their muscles are and what their muscles are doing are pretty good, sometimes you'll see and you've all probably seen this, anatomy that looks like it's been flayed, and we always want to say, okay, you've got them in the right place, but now there's skin over the top of that,
Exactly.
It's so much more subtle in real life. Yeah. And so we see some of that.
So they just make it look like meat, essentially. Is that from too
Yeah.
much texture and too much kind of rendering, quote unquote?
Well, for sure, they're paying so much attention to the muscles, and you
Right.
just got to remember that it's even more subtle than that. The muscles are under, under layers of flesh,
Fat, yeah.
And
you got to make them
tendon.
poke out.
And there's what they don't know is they don't know what, when you say to them, hey, you need to skin that. That means you need to put, like, you need to build things up.
That's
it means
right.
you need to work on the planes that
Right.
you're forming with
Yeah.
these structures. Okay. And the same thing goes with painting or sculpting, or I'm sorry, painting or drawing. You're building up these structures, especially me right now. I'm just building up these forms to make them pop. And it's the same exact process as just kind of skinning something.
Right.
Even though I'm not, right? So yeah, that's a big thing. I remember Simon telling me that when I had taken a class from him, and I showed him a sculpture, and he was like, wow, that's pretty good. He goes, now you need to skin it. And I kind of didn't get it, like what he said. And he goes, do this. And he kind of did part of the leg. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started doing that. It's still the worst sculpture ever that I've ever done, probably. But I learned so much from it that, yeah, I learned how to bulk things up and sculpt things out and make them look more real and add texture to flesh and make it look like it's sitting over the top of something. Or,
right.
When you're adding veins,
That's
those
it.
are super subtle, right?
Right.
Veins are the most subtle thing to do.
That's exactly
Super
the kind
subtle.
of thing where,
Yeah.
And Jared's so good at this, but the vein, it'll just disappear. And then it'll come back out, it'll disappear under. And that's the kind of thing where a newbie may just make the vein go all the way down the arm.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah, you've got to, that's when you need to look at the reference and see what's really happening. And that's, like I said, Jared's so good at that with these bodybuilders.
I've heard all good things about Simon's classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I actually was part of his first series of, hey, where's the gray tone version of this?
By the way, Billy would like a Briario's sculpture from you, Crager, from Appleseed.
Oh, nice. So it looks like
Billy,
I went.
I love that character. I agree with Billy. I love Appleseed, so I'm all about that.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. So it looks like I went in there and kind of did the blade up real quick with a pen and kind of hit a few things to kind of even it out before I started adding color to it. So this is the gray toned version of it currently. So let's see, it's 9:00 right now. I'll put this on double time.
Love the pile of bones below.
We'll put this on double time and see if we can make it color real quick. And then we'll show you the finished version. Thank you. Thank you, guys. You know what? Your stuff's so solid. I was able to just find a decent picture of it and just sit there and just kind of work out what I needed to work out. I didn't know what his belt looked like or anything like that, so I got to kind of figure that out. And I kind of drew something in here, as you can see, that kind of is.
What up, Rex?
It's not hefty. The thing that goes between his legs. I ended up changing that on the finished piece, but I didn't actually record the process of that. So by the time we finish this, in probably the next 15 minutes, I'll pop out the original piece and we'll get a look at it. But yeah, it's coming along. It's all you guys, man.
No Ram has a question for you too. Do you guys use Avi's epoxy the most? I'm not quite sure what that is, but
we do.
Aves.
Yeah, we do. We love the Aves, and the collectors like it because it's just way stronger than polymer clay. So if you're going to buy an original, it's just way more durable, and it's going to last way longer. Even though some polymer clay things last, I've got things that are 20 years old that are totally fine.
Yeah.
But just in theory, the Aves is way stronger of a material. And it's a finer product. I think you can sand it and file it and do all kinds of fun stuff to it. And it's just way denser.
So, I mean, these are organic materials, so they're subject to rotting, right?
No, not Aves. It hardens like a rock. Aves hardens like a rock. It doesn't. Kind of.
Latex will rot.
Yeah, latex rots, but Aves epoxy sculpt. The epoxy itself, once it's hardened, becomes like a rock.
You find it in museums a lot. A lot of stuff is repaired with Aves because it can take, the surface can take so many different tones and textures. You can kind of make it look like anything, if you keep sanding it and filing it and you start getting into the sanding films, like for the model rockets, you can get it shiny, all the way to extremely rough. So you can make it look like just about anything.
I do have a question for you two guys. Is there a project that you guys can remember that was a total nightmare, like a quagmire, where you guys like, oh my God, and you had to use all your powers to kind of get yourself out of it?
All of them.
All of them? They were all nightmares?
No, it's a roller coaster, there's some nights where you love it and you're going, this is awesome. And then you wake up the next morning and you're like, I suck. I ain't shit. This sucks. So they're all a roller coaster. There have definitely been some where it's like, holy shit, resolve and simplify, because we had all these grand schemes and plans and hopes and dreams. And then the reality hits and it's like, oh man, we've got to back away slowly,
Right.
Is there one in particular that sticks out that you can remember where you're like, oh my God, that was a scary one, like in particular?
Well, it's funny because we have I would have two different answers probably. Our own work, our original concept stuff, me and Jared have our own sort of struggles with that, not with each other. But and then there's license work. We're not great. We're not probably the world's best at being art directed, especially with characters that we think we know better than the people. Not like Randy Bowen. Bowen's a comic fan and he's a great artist. But when you're dealing with somebody like Marvel, you're going to get notes from everybody. Marvel legal department,
right?
Marvel, whatever. I don't care what Marvel legal department has to say. I'll listen to Randy or listen to another artist, but that's not a lot of fun doing work like that, where everybody has to chime in and it becomes like a committee designed by committee, I guess.
Yeah, it can make you crazy, committee. Probably. Like you're trying to make you crazy.
There's no doubt.
And like, can you change this one thing because somebody in some other medium of legality might take umbrage with it? Like, Jesus, man, I'm just trying to get through this commission, trying to get through this concept.
Yeah. And like I said, with me and Jared, it's not like we know the best way, but we felt like we put in all these years reading these Marvel comics. Probably just, we were like, just let us roll with it because we were being instructed by people who didn't know any of the characters. I think, and that would get to us sometimes.
I can understand like that, how that would drive you nuts. Like, especially when you're trying to get in your creative groove. And a lot of this is by feel and, your eyes on a piece of clay, not 15 eyes across the country.
That's right.
You can't see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Ram says, I still love your Venom vs. Spidey diorama on my hit list.
Thank you so
much.
Thank you so much, man.
We love Simon Bisley.
Yeah, that's one based on Simon Bisley. And
after Frazetta, Simon Bisley, Moebius, those are the huge influences for us.
Mobius, he was awesome.
There
For
was
sure.
a company producing some Frazetta pieces a couple of years ago, maybe about 5 years ago. They did the famous Barbarian cover. You know, I'm talking about the famous triangle painting.
For sure.
They did the Atlantean. They did the Death Dealer. You know what I'm talking about?
Was it Real Arts?
I believe it was. It was, but they were doing the big ones. They were like, were you guys involved in that?
No. Was
We
it Tony
weren't.
Cipriani? He did some good stuff.
Yeah.
He did a
was
Frost
about 5
Giant
years
that
ago.
was real good.
The
They
stuff
did.
we're
They did the
right now we're
Medusa.
working
Remember
with.
that big Medusa that was coiled?
Oh yeah.
That was that company. I just wonder if you guys had any hand in that.
We did not. We just done the Death Dealer 2 for the Frazetta girls, who was Holly and Sarah. Holly is Frank Frazetta's daughter. Sarah is the granddaughter. So we're working with the Frazetta family, and we're on our second and third piece with them. We're doing Dark Kingdom right now, which was the Molly Hatchet cover of the guy stepping
Our
forward.
favorite. Yeah.
And we love that, and we're working on another piece. I don't know if we can totally talk about, but the Death Dealer piece is the Death Dealer 2, where he has the axe above his head. That's out there, and I think Jason, you even used it on the promo.
I did use it on the promo. It's one of the best pieces, man, and only you guys can do that in the vein. Yeah, sure, okay. There are many talented sculptors out there. I'm not saying that they are the only choice, but if I were to choose and know it was in their wheelhouse and knew that they would make it perfect, the Shiflett brothers are the person that I would call when it comes to the Frazetta type stuff.
Thank you,
because
sir.
they understand it, man. They understand the form.
And you have the blessing of the family. I mean, what more can you get?
For sure, and it means a lot to us. It really does.
Have you guys?
It's on the cover of our book, so they were really
the cover of our book. In fact,
they've just been great to work with, and it's just been a pleasure and a labor of love. You know, like the Dark Kingdom is my favorite Frazetta piece. You know, that kind of stepping forward that he's doing. We've imitated that countless times. That kind of where the guitarist is kicking over the speaker and it's this feeling of action coming forward. That's something we try to capture all the time.
And I haven't even brought up the fact that you guys did a Nirasawa piece. You did Steve Oil Rain, which is one of the best versions of Steve Oil Rain. Like,
thanks,
Nirasawa would be so proud of you guys.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I hope so.
Thanks.
No, I know so. Like, there's no way he wouldn't have been impressed by that.
What a massive... He changed everything for us. You know, like I've said, we love comic books, but we were just going to keep making Incredible Hulks. You know what I mean? Into our old age. Right. We saw Creature Core and Nirasawa and Takea, and it was like, you know, I imagine it was like the Beatles doing acid or whatever, you know. I'm not saying we're the Beatles, but I am saying it changed our whole worldview on like what this stuff could be, you know, like that shit in Creature Core, fine art. And we realized, you know, not that we're going to achieve fine art, but we could aspire in that direction, you know, like these guys. And in that way, almost all of our heroes are those Japanese guys from the 80s and 90s, you know, who started it.
Right.
And it still holds up. If you flip through Creature Core right now, 100%. It's just as amazing because you go back and you look at some of the stuff that was done in the 80s and it's like, it doesn't really compare to the stuff of today. But the Creature Core shit is still at this upper high level.
It is.
And he was,
and a lot of it is on the craft bases, the little wood bases you would get from Michaels or Crafts, etc. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter at all. It's just amazing.
That's what I was going to say, is that his sculptures are more multimedia sculptures than they are pure, like, hey, this was done completely in Sculpey. No, he did it in Sculpey, and then he put leather pants on that motherfucker.
Bones.
Right.
And they,
wires.
Yeah, he touched bones and wires and wigs and painted them. And it was a whole environment. Like he had a whole feel for everything. And Nirasawa, who died very young, unfortunately,
Yeah.
in his 60s, at the peak of like him being celebrated for who he was already. He was already a master that everybody looked up to, but we were all looking forward to 20-year retrospectives of his life.
Absolutely.
So not him dying and then just being like, well, I guess we got Takea still. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we love Takea, but Nirasawa, man, was not only were other sculptors looking at Nirasawa's work, it had a change on the comic book industry too. And I know this because people like Dave Finch were carrying around that Creature Core book, man, while he was working on like Ascension and Aphrodite 9 and stuff like that. And in fact, some of the characters from Aphrodite 9, if you look at them, they obviously are Nirasawa inspired. So it's
the one
beautiful
big
stuff,
arm
man.
off to the side, the
asymmetricalness of things, the ported vents that come out of their chest, the cyborg eye, the tubes coming off the back of the head, the giant shoulder pad.
We were only around him, a couple of times, but you kind of felt it, the heaviness of it, like you were in the presence of greatness. At least me and Jared did.
Oh, for sure.
He was super cool. We didn't speak the same language, but he was just super nice to us.
Right.
And just seemed like a sweetheart of a guy,
Exactly.
It's amazing when you're around those types because they just don't know how good they are. Like, you don't think, do you know how good you are? Like, you're too nice to be this humble. Too good to be this humble.
Right.
So that's the end of that. I finished
that finished color version. Jason just looked incredible.
Yes,
looks great, Jason.
I what we saw there wasn't even the real finished piece, so I'm going to show it right now.
Yeah, and it's hypnotizing watching it. I was just kind of blanking out watching the pen go, the brush go.
That was a nice piece in front of there. I mean, I'm just
very cool.
Let's hold on. Let's get this focus on here and focus.
By the way, Crager, Jason has humbled himself to say being around Crager is being in the presence of greatness. And this is coming from Jason Bascom, the most arrogant piece of human breed known to man, who will never humble himself before any man, much less J. Crager.
I appreciate that, buddy. I you know what? I just want to be the best artist I can.
And Awesome One seconds that. Welcome, Awesome One. Welcome back.
And if I can teach people like stuff and just show them how easy some of this stuff is, like
I love you, Jason.
That's what I'm all about. So this is the finished piece. So I ended up here we go. There we go. So
beautiful.
I just kept adding red and saturating this, like to keep pushing everything back, even though it's a hot color, like and it's gonna stick out. I just had to keep pushing it back. And of course they're complementary colors, red and green, which is why I use them. But hot colors tend to stick out a little more than cooler colors.
Right.
So I had to kind of oversaturate this red to kind of push it into the background. So less detail, even though there's plenty of detail in it. The reason I added this is because it just looked funny without it. Like I was like, there has to be something breaking this up to kind of make it part of the whole form. And then all this,
Crager, says Luke.
All this, what was that?
He said fantastic piece. Love the color.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It is actually going to be going home to the shiftlets, so I'm going to scan it.
Oh, you lucky man.
Yeah. And then at some point, whatever they decide to do with it, if they make prints for it and want to sign them and get some of their executioners, and sell them as a set or something, it's all for them. So
that sounds cool to me.
It's basically an appreciation of you guys coming on my show and kind of being my buddy for the last 20 years. So let me sign this thing. Where should I sign it? Should I sign it in red or should I sign on the belly here? I should sign it in red. You want it in red?
By the way, gentlemen, I think when it comes to the work of 3 Dimensions, you're really going to appreciate mine and Crager's character in the form of old Joe.
Cool. Yeah, Joe.
Awesome.
So let me show you. I have a sculpture that I did. Remember how I told you guys what I can't draw, I sculpt. So what I've been doing is making reference for my meathead piece. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to this is monster clay. I need to build up the neck quite a bit and the shoulders, give him some trapezes.
And his hair.
Yeah, and his hair. And it's based on Chief from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he was in a lot of movies. That actor.
Yeah. He was
because Joe is a giant Native American man before he got all jacked up like this.
Right.
Gotcha.
So the story of Meathead is basically a Vietnam story that takes place after the war has ended. And Joe was part of an elite combat unit that was called the Meatheads. And they did a lot of covert wet work and stuff like that. And what ends up happening is they're part of an MK Ultra-esque project. And they have key words that, turn them on. So what happens is he gets activated, and then something happens to his commanding officer, and the commanding officer, of course, can't turn him off now. So the war is ended, and he's stuck in Vietnam, and he's just activated, and he's all torn up and beat up, and it's like somebody who's trapped and can't get out. And he's forced to do this stuff until he's deactivated.
Winter Soldier. Am I right?
Yeah. Just very Winter Soldier-like in that aspect. But I kind of did the whole... I wanted him to look like Swamp Thing. I wanted him to be in his ghillie suit and just be huge. And he wears a tiger skull on his head most of the time when he's around killing people.
I love it.
As you do.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do that. You have to wear a little
I think you guys would really like the silhouette, in terms of sculpting and the way light falls on him.
Yeah.
So
anything that's kind of Kurgan-like, that helmet is badass. I love the sound of it already. If you got some big fangs hanging down right here,
here we got some.
That's the first page.
Stuff. Yeah.
Oh, hell
yeah.
That looks beautiful.
So you can see him. Let me just grab my camera and turn it around. Oh, this way. And
cool.
There you go.
That looks great, Jason.
So
looks fantastic.
Yeah, that's what he looks like in full armor and looking at you and giving you the business. So
very cool.
Yeah, man.
Anyways, we're working on Meathead. I'm working on Jawbone Death also, which is my other book with Adam Lawson. I'm working on Latex with Seth Tokume, and hopefully in the future I'll be working on some Shiflett Brothers comic books. So
we want that absolutely. We want that to happen.
We'll get there, man. We'll get there at some point, I bet. So I really do appreciate you guys coming out and being with us tonight.
This was fun.
This is a blast.
Thank you for the stories.
I'm so glad you guys came out and were able to make it and let me do this for you. And, I think maybe you got a couple more fans, excuse me. So maybe a couple of these people jump over there and give you guys some love.
Awesome,
and as I said,
check out our forum on Facebook. It's Shiflett Brothers Sculpting Forum. We keep it friendly. We don't, the trolls, boom, we kick them out. So you can post anything. If you sculpted a little earthworm, we keep it nice. You know, it's the internet, but it's like internet light because there are moderators. And so that's one of the best things about Facebook is the groups, you know, because it's not just, you know, the old West or whatever. So check out our sculpting forum on Facebook.
Yeah, check out their sculpting forum. Check out their Patreon. Go buy their book and their sculptures. Their books are amazing. Just chat it up, man. Go do sculpting stuff. If you have never sculpted before, go there and sculpt. So, as always, we leave with a little bit of peaches, the same way we came in. And we're going to be heading out, guys. So, good night. And,
nice to meet you, William. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you all for a great show.